Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. I have my two helpers here today. I got Hank and Duke, and we're going to do something a little different. You know, throughout the course of the year, I do so much fishing that I generally break a handful of rods. The first part of this year started off really bad. I broke like 6 or 7 rods over like a month period, and most of those were in one instance where there was an accident in the boat, we'll say, and 3 rods got broken at one time. And 2 of them were spinning rods that I've got right here, and they broke off just above the butt section. So, I mean, we've got probably, I'm going to say a 4.5 foot section and probably I don't know, yeah, probably 4 to 5 foot sections. And instead of just throwing out the whole upper section of this rod, what I'm going to do is turn this into, both of these into a rod for both Hank and Duke. They're not even aware of this, but we're going to turn this into a couple of like good bluegill slaying rods. At the same time, if you live in the northern part of the world and you can do some ice fishing, these would also be great for ice fishing. So we're going to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is have both Hank and Duke. You guys want to go pick out some grips from the wall over there? Like whatever colors you want. And these are really simple to make because for the most part, all of my eyes all the way up to the tip-top guide, yep, are already on. So all I got to do is clean up the broken part here and then mount a new grip and a new reel seat and we'll be good to go. So for both of these, and then you also need a butt grip, the one with the round end. So with both of these, I'll end up removing the bottom eye, and therefore, you know, that'll work great. So I'm excited to see how these turn out. The kids love to catch bluegill. We don't do much ice fishing, but they'd be great for that too. All right, so Hank, you want
all red.
All red wind grips, and Duke, you want to mix it up, huh? Blue and green. All right. Well, I'll start by getting rid of these guides, and then I'll call you guys in when I need some help to glue it up, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, let's get down to this. So the first thing that I want to do with both these rods is create a nice, clean, flush break line. In both cases, they're kind of good shards of graphite sticking up, as you can see there. So what I've done is taken some masking tape, just created a nice line that's going to hold the blank together, at the same time allow me to cut off some of those ends. In this case, you can see like on this one, there's just one big long shard that's sticking off. So I'm going to go ahead and use just a box cutter to cut that off and give myself a nice clean edge. We'll get all this moved out of the way. Today's beer of choice doing the project, Central Waters. This is Little Dots. This is potentially one of the best beers I've ever had. I'm not sure. I think it's a seasonal beer. I really hope they make it a mainstay. So Central Waters, if you're watching, Little Dots is right up my alley. One of my favorite beers I've ever had. So that's saying quite a bit. But so let's get these scored up. We're going to create a nice, clean, flush break. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the first guide off of these rods, or the bottom guide. And in this case, you know, all I want to do is take my box cutter and I'm going to go right down the foot of that guide. That'll cut through the threads and allow me to pop those off real quick. All right, so I cleaned up the rod blank itself. I cut off one of the guides and cleaned up the back end of the rod. And while I was doing that, I was thinking to myself, I don't think what I had the boys pick out was right. I had them pick out both a butt grip as well as a handle grip, and we were going to mount that. The problem was, if you were to go with a split grip system in this case, you'd be looking at really extending the rod. I don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to take a page out of the Ice Fisherman's Playbook, which is really where they just mount the reel at the very back end of the rod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spinning setup with a couple of nubbins. So I've got a nubbin on each side, and I'm going to mount that at the very back end of the rod, just like that. So at that point, the reel will be at the back end, but because this is going to be for either ice fishing or bluegill fishing, there's no reason to have a butt grip on there. I mean, you know, if you're talking about bluegill, it'll actually be easier for the kids to use without having any sort of split grip system. So that's what we're going to go with. It'll actually be easier too, because if you were to move, if I was to go with what I was originally thinking and put a reel seat up higher, I'd have to remove more guides, and at that point then I'd have to change the guide, the running guides up towards the front with some larger guides, because these were going to be for spinning reels, which the kids can handle easier. So this is going to work out just perfect. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to remount the nubbins and arbor up some tape on the blank to make the reel seat flush or fit tightly with the rod blank itself, and we'll get this going pretty easily, and then we'll just have to glue it together and it'll be good to go. All I've got to do at this part is mix up our 2-part Pro Paste adhesive and smear that across the tape, and then glue everything into place. So that's what we're going to do now, and this rod's going to be ready to go. They're going to be ready to catch a pile of bluegills, and maybe even we'll do a little ice fishing this year. We'll see, but let's mix up our 2-part adhesive. All right, as you can see, they like the rods. They're done drying. Let's see them, boys. Show them off over here. We had time to get a couple of haircuts. We just got done with baths. Now they're heading to bed here. They're in their PJs. And you can see we've got 2 beautiful little spinning rods that these guys are going to be able to catch a pile of bluegills on. We could use them for ice fishing if we wanted to. And most of all, we turn these broken rods into very good usable rods. Again, one thing that I hate as a rod maker is that if you break a rod, you end up having to build another one. There may be warranties on the blank, but the reality is you put a lot of work into building that rod. So when you broke it, it's heartbreaking. But in this case, we're able to bring back a couple of broken rods. We'll get a lot more use out of them. With a few components that you can get from mudhole.com, really all we used was a spinning reel seat, a couple of nubbins, and that's about it. You know, we just kind of took a couple things off the old rod blanks, and now we got a couple of boys who are going to be ready to go fishing with them. So turn your old broken rods into something usable with a couple of simple, easy steps, a couple of parts from mudhole.com. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.